Hello, good people of the internet. What is up? Welcome to the Bitchuation Room podcast live. That's right. That's what it is. You're here. Don't scroll. Don't click that ad. You don't need it. It's not, snail doesn't work on the face. All right. Welcome. What's up? I am Francesca Fiorentini. Welcome to another episode of the Bitchuation Room in the middle of this rebirth of America, as I like to call it, the newest civil rights movement, the fuck around and find out civil rights movement that we are currently in the middle of, in the thick of. Maybe some of you are in the streets. Maybe you've been in the streets. Wear a mask, get tested, but also shit is fucking real. We have such a good show for you all today. We have Vasudha Desikan, who is a good friend of mine and a labor organizer and a policy director for United for Respect that works with low-wage workers. And she's kind of one of those people who's like a radical lobbyist. Is that a thing? She's a radical lobbyist. They exist. She's one of them. She's trying to fight this good fight in all the places we don't really want to be, because the streets are one thing, but in the Beltway is quite another. She's here to talk with us about the stimulus budgets. There are many. What does it take? What does it mean? What at all is going to happen to our economy? It's going to be spicy. It's going to be good. Also, it's Pride. And that means we are donating a portion of your tips, because you know how you tip us. Remember how this is a free show, and remember how you give us $3 or $5 or $20 because it's great. Yeah. We're giving a portion of those awesome tips to the LGBTQ Freedom Fund, which helps bail out low-income queer people who are held in jail or immigrant detention. There are a lot of queer folks right now on the streets who might be getting arrested, people who've been arrested in the last few weeks after all of these, again, George Floyd protests and BLM protests. That this podcast is strongly in solidarity with. Tip us at Venmo or Venmo at, I always do this wrong, Venmo, TBR-live. Tip us. We love you. Do that. Also, right now, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, there is a reminder for you to be reminded whenever we go live. It's like a bell. It says get reminder. And so you don't have to remember to tune in every 6 o'clock on a Sunday or 9 o'clock on a Sunday. Hit that little button. That goes a long way. Twitch might have something like that. Sup, Twitch? Gen Z, sup? Don't hate me. I'm cool. I'm your cool aunt. All right. Before I get too down this rabbit hole, let me bring in my co-host. Please welcome the man, the myth, the soon-to-be legend, although that means he is old as hell. My good friend Nato Green, welcome. ¿Qué pasó? Cheers. Salud.
How are we doing?
Good. I've got a failed iced tea.
Nice. I've got I made a blood orange old fashioned. I had a blood orange. I'm using Irish whiskey. And
are you the kind of guy who just has a blood orange sitting around? I'm gonna do this blood orange.
Yeah, what am I going to do with this blood orange? May as well make a blood orange old fashioned. And now I'm freebasing avant-garde simple syrup with like mixing different kinds of sugars together to get a different simple syrup experience.
God damn it. Every fucking week he steps it up. Avant-garde simple syrup.
This is the signs of my midlife crisis right now, right? This is right in this.
Yeah.
It's either this or Paxil.
Well, I'm just glad we're on. I'm just glad we're on Facebook right now. Facebook people, listen. Don't click on those ads about Trump and coronavirus numbers being inflated. Make yourself some avant-garde simple syrup.
Right. So
Boomer.
Because I said this now, because we're on Facebook Live, Facebook is going to start serving me a bunch of awesome ads about, are you a middle-aged man dealing with depression and anxiety? Try alcoholism.
Oh, my bad. I just shook the camera. That's okay. For those of you listening, it's not a big deal. Well, welcome, Nato. Dude, we were told last week that we stalled too long on the intro. Folks,
let's get into it.
Are we stalling too long? I see all your comments right now. Someone says they squeeze out their sponges. Joseph, thank you, motherfucker. Squeeze all otherwise mildew.
Yeah, you're turning heterosexual cis men around.
I know.
with your bitching about squeezing sponges.
But I was called out on that because apparently all genders, all sexualities, being a bad cleaner upper is gender fluid. I think is bad cleaner upper was almost there. It's the shitty cleaner upper, my boyfriend.
My wife is way cleaner than me, but my dumb pet peeve, like I squeeze sponges, but my dumb pet peeve is that she leaves cabinets open.
Oh God, that's awful.
Yeah.
That's
So I feel like I'm always walking around the house closing cabinets and drawers.
Yeah, no, that's terrible. Also, in the only Scientology video I ever watched, it was for a story I was doing. Apparently, the thetans, or no, the engrams, like the bad memories that you have, were from when your pregnant mother walked into a drawer, an open drawer, which is very funny to be very exciting. Anyway, you have a lot to look forward to. Your kids
Does that mean so? Does it tell you a lot about me that my mom was in labor with me for 52 hours? 52 hours.
She knew her son was going to grow up to say things like avant-garde simple syrup.
Yeah, right. Well, and she knew her son was going to grow up to take his fucking sweet time speaking his mind and talk hella slowly and pause a lot.
Also,
and make
that
people around him are crazy.
Also, that we love Nato. Nato, it's fine. He takes his time. So do I. But let's jump into it. This is a segment we're bringing back once again because it's a new week in whatever this new world we live in. This is the week where it is Sunday. I believe it's June 14th. It's okay if you're listening to this at a different date. It'll probably all still be relevant. But if you have been living, under your covers, as you should be, let's just get into the week. This was the week where I'm already fucking it up. This was the week where, if you missed this is great. House Democrats donned kente cloths as they knelt for nearly 9 minutes to honor George Floyd before announcing sweeping police reforms like classifying lynching as a hate crime. Wow. And I know a lot of people were focused on the kente cloths, and how it's like not 1982 and Coming to America isn't the #1 comedy in the country. But I was too busy focused on Democrats taking one knee for 9 minutes. Like, you know how hard that is for them? Like, the average age of a congressional Democrat is water aerobics. 8 minutes is how long it takes for a congressperson to need knee replacement surgery. I'm not going to fucking foot that bill.
So the Democratic Reform Bill included a bunch of police training and, community policing types of programs, that sort of touchy, like groovy stuff, like soft. And it's interesting to see that, now a few weeks in the debate between like defund the police and then like the more centrist version. And so I love to see the range of opinions. Like on the far left is like, the police should eat my entire asshole and all be fired into the sun immediately. And anything less is a sellout. It's a sellout position. And then on the center are like Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi, who are sort of more like really meeting the challenge of the moment. They're offering the big ideas the moment requires. They watched that video of that cop kneeling on George Floyd for 9 minutes, and they're like, you know what that guy needs is a seminar. The answer to systemic racism is more PowerPoint presentations. That'll do the trick and whip these cops into shape.
Can they watch the seminar while they eat ass? Just asking.
Stop it.
Okay. All right. This was the week where, after being gassed and brutalized, Seattle Black Lives Matter protesters successfully took over the streets outside of Capitol Hill, which is a neighborhood in Seattle, and have now created the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, or CHAZ. They have created community gardens. They have movie screenings. They don't allow currency, and they're giving out free masks and LaCroix because CHAZ always has LaCroix, bruh. I just want to say, whoever says that anarchists don't believe in organization are total idiots. Okay, this is incredible. And also, do you know how much work it takes to be polyamorous with 5 different people? They're organized.
A lot of work. CHAZ is short for Charles, the Capitol Hill Autonomous Region of Lower East Seattle. And it's been like red meat to the right wing. Like Ted Cruz has been posting stuff, and Sean Hannity had a segment on it, and Donald Trump was threatening to invade Seattle to restore democracy and order. And I went and looked at pictures of Chaz, and it's disgusting and lawless and decadent. They're out of control. They're growing food in the public parks. They're drawing on the sidewalk in chalk. They're teaching each other about harm reduction. And one time, if you can believe this, they actually watched the documentary Paris is Burning about the gay Vogue scene in New York in the late 80s. With documentaries, art, and learning, it's a slippery slope that will lead to listening and learning and empathy. And this will not stand.
Send in the tanks. Oh, it's so beautiful. I fucking love it. Like, I don't want to smell it, but I love it.
Right. I spent enough time when Occupy Wall Street happened. In the course of touring, doing comedy, I visited 7 different Occupy cities and Occupy encampments. And let me tell you, sometimes it's better to read about it than to be there yourself.
All right. Well, this was also the week where Paramount canceled the show Cops. Finally, yes, it's been running that long. NASCAR also banned Confederate flags from their events, and HBO Max took Gone with the Wind off streaming. Temporarily, of course. But honestly, I love it. Like, keep going on this toxic whiteness until putting marshmallows on sweet potatoes is illegal. But I love it. I mean, this is like America finally taking down its MySpace page that's been up since it was a preteen, and there's like Limp Bizkit and, swastikas drawn with puffy paints. It's embarrassing. Take it down.
It's cool to see how corporations are really trying to capitalize on the moment. It reminds me, I don't know if you remember this, early in Obama's term, the cable channel Stars, like, how they have like HBO Comedy and HBO East and whatever. And so Stars rebranded one of the various Star channels Stars Black to celebrate Obama. And then after a few months, they got bored of that. And then they converted Stars Black to Stars Nicolas Cage. And so it reminds me of that. It's like, okay, now we're done with NASCAR Confederacy. It's time for NASCAR Nicolas Cage.
Baby steps, bruh.
Baby steps.
This was also the week where many cities, including Los Angeles, entered phase 3 of reopening, despite coronavirus cases in California going up. That means the opening back up of museums, gyms, and zoos. Because if there's one thing this pandemic needs, it's more contact between humans and animals. Like, what the fuck are we doing? Are we trying to reverse engineer this? Like, maybe if we throw our shit at the monkeys, the whole thing will be, gone.
It's they keep reopening despite the cases still going up. It's like the official public health position of LA County is, we're all going to die. Fuck it. Let's go to the spa. And my big question, like, they keep talking about, like, at this point in the process, we get to reopen this. And at this point in the process, we get to reopen that. And my question is, like, what are the criteria when they decide that orgies get to reopen? Like, where do we need to be? Like, how are we going to flatten the curve if we can't flatten that ass? Am I right? Hey, goodbye. I'll see myself out.
Now, when you flatten the ass, is that sexual or is that like a nah, bro? We better flatten that ass.
Oh no, I meant flatten the ass in a sexual way. Like, I was visualizing, like, from Impact. You know what I mean?
Right. Oh, right. Flat. Yeah. No, I got it. I got it.
Visualize some ass smashing.
Got it. Yeah. Girl, you look sick. Won't you flat that ass?
Yeah. Ventilate that dick.
Have I mentioned we're taking tips? You can tip us TBR-live for these and many more bad jokes. Let's go on. This was the week where Georgia's voting system was put to the test and succeeded if you're a Republican. The rollout of the new GOP-approved voting machines and electronic voter check-in systems were to blame, apparently, causing Georgians in predominantly black and brown precincts to wait in line for 6 hours or more. Which leads me to the conclusion that voting in a black neighborhood has the business model of vegan ice cream in a white neighborhood. Like, hundreds of people wait in line for hours. only 25 are served and only 5 are happy. Like what I'm saying is I once saw a white woman pass out in a brunch line and I realized what it would be like to vote while black.
The only thing I disagree with about that, Francesca, is I don't believe there are any happy vegans.
It's the cheese, man. If you just don't even try to eat that stuff,
I know,
you'll be happier. This was the week where the Trump campaign began making rally goers, this is real, sign a waiver stating that they assume all risks related to exposure to COVID-19 and agree to not hold Trump, the convention centers, or any affiliates liable if they become sick. Like that's amazing. Like everyone thinks Trump is a dumb Hitler, but Hitler was never able to get the people he was about to kill to vote for him. Like that's amazing. But I also do think like Trump voters should have waivers generally, like all the time. Just like, you know, a card, you know, like, you know what, like deaf people, if they encounter law enforcement, they have like a card, like, oh, you know, I'm deaf. And it's like same for Trump voters, like like a card. Yeah, you know.
like a sex offender registry, like they have to go around and knock on your door.
Thank
And
you.
hi, I just moved to the neighborhood. I'm a Trump voter.
Hi, I don't believe the earth is round. Yeah, but like, yeah, you get like a special lane on the freeway, special campsites, hotel rooms, special line in the supermarket with like soundproof glass so we don't have to hear the like, you know, go back to what I'm saying is I believe in segregation for segregationists.
Nice.
That makes sense.
People think that like the Trump campaign should be doing some sort of more like public health measures to keep people from getting sick at their events. But think of all the ways that not suing Trump will help people, will keep people from getting COVID. I mean, they won't have to physically go to the courthouse to file a legal claim. They won't have to sit in a conference room close up during a deposition. And obviously, if you claim that you have COVID in a lawsuit, you'd be required to prove it by drooling violently on opposing counsel until they get COVID. And that's habeas corpus, right? So now we can avoid that hassle.
You lost me at habeas corpus. It's like literal corpus.
It's little, right? Do you have as someone who speaks Spanish? Do you see whenever someone says incarnate, do you think sí, incarnate in la carne? Like, you know, oh, he's evil incarnate. Yes, he is evil in carne asada.
Incarne, que bien. No, I don't actually, because I don't eat meat, even though I lived in Argentina for 5 years, and that is why I don't eat meat, because I've eaten all the meat, all of it. There's no other meat left for me to eat. I've ate it. So that's why I am a vegetarian, not vegan yet. There's some people who are like, oh, vegan jokes. Yeah, man, vegan jokes. But like, no disrespect, but like, you know, come on. Once in a while, a little vegan joke never hurt anybody. Just like a, you know, chicken wing. All right, moving on. That was the week that was the week where, you guys, I will get that right at some point. And when I do, I expect a tip and I expect love.
There's one more story. I have one more story from this week.
Oh, yes. What happened?
So this was the week where in protest of the police murder this weekend in Atlanta of another innocent black man in a Wendy's drive-through, protesters burned down a Wendy's, and the story in the Guardian newspaper on the incident said on Saturday night demonstrators marched into Atlanta and the restaurant in question was burned. The House Majority Whip James Clyburn said he was incensed. And no editor caught that. He was like, the restaurant was burned. He was incensed. It's like the House Majority Whip Clyburn said, "My passions are aflame. My rage is scorching hot. Tempers are combustible. We will birth a new world from the ashes of the old."
I thought you meant like the Wendy's was incensed. It was like charbroiled, you know, whatever the. Listen, I say burn it just because of the square patties.
Right.
No. Shout out in the comments if you've ever stayed away from Wendy's because the square. Why? What's it doing? All right, y'all. We are going to move on. Thank you so much for being here once again, live with us. Maybe not live. Maybe you're cooking. Maybe you're not cooking. Maybe you're mixing a drink like Nato is. Maybe you're making, what was it?
Avant-garde simple syrup. Yeah, maybe you're doing that. Look, I know I see people in the comments who are offended that we're making fun of vegetarians and vegans. So one of my kids is a bit vegan curious right now, so I've been doing more vegan cooking. I made some tasty cauliflower adobo recently. I made vegetarian Frito pie. Like, I'm getting into it. It's good stuff.
Yeah, but vegetarian Frito pie means it had cheese, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, that's what I was saying. I'm saying vegan cheese, just vegan. It doesn't melt right. It doesn't. It's like the square patty.
Wrong.
Yeah. It's wrong. It's wrong. All right. Well, let's go into our next segment, which is a segment it's been a very traditional segment here on the Bitchuation Room, which is what are you bitching about? So beyond the news or part of the news, Nato, what are you bitching about this week?
Well, I just saw this before we went live, and this is what I'm bitching about, is the following headline: Barbara Streisand helps George Floyd's daughter Gianna 6 become a Disney shareholder. What kind of fucking blindside bullshit is that? Like, Barbara Streisand is like, yes, definitely systemic racism, police brutality. We better do something about that. The solution is to give black people a bigger stake in capitalism. That we have racialized capitalism, and the solution is going to be one virtuous white lady and one innocent black child at a time. We're not going to deal with systems of power and domination. We're just going to give them some stock in a company famous for plundering the third world.
Look, I get it. I get that you're cynical about that. I think that's like, I do want to know more about it. Like, what are the perks? I know she's young. Like,
it's not. The article in People says the perks do not include discounts to Disneyland. If that's where you're going, you just have a piece of paper that says money.
That's blasphemous.
I know.
What? Okay, first of all, money obviously is probably better than free rides, considering Disneyland is closed right now, remains closed. But what about, like, I don't know, like, is there a ride she can name, or she can like design a part of, or does she get to like get out on the Little Mermaid ride and just run around and like, touch Ariel and stuff? You know where. But you know what I mean? Like that would be a perk to me, would be like to get out and just like hide in the Haunted Mansion.
Right. You could imagine some perks.
Yeah. But I mean, at least when she's like 16 or 17, be like, here's some shrooms. You get free reign of Disneyland, stockholder.
Right. We're closing Disneyland for a day. You get to just rock out.
See, that is not consolation, but a little bit consolation.
It's almost reparations.
It's almost reparations. Oh God. Barbara, baby, you tried. What am I bitching about? I am bitching about something that is a little more serious, but I can't get over this the killing in Atlanta of the gentleman who was asleep in his car in that Wendy's that was burned down, Rashard Brooks. He, a couple of videos have been released, and I'm sure you've seen some of them. But basically, he's like pleasantly speaking to the officers. He was sleeping in his car. They wake him up.
They chat with him for 25 minutes.
Yes. And then they begin to arrest him. And I think that's where he has a problem with that. And I don't know what was said or exchanged between them. I think the point that I'm heading towards is he wins. He fucking gets out of two cops who are armed trying to wrestle him to the ground, and he gets out of it. Yes, he grabs a taser, but he doesn't point it at anyone. He doesn't hold on to it. He doesn't, I think the cop gets it back pretty soon after, and he wins and he runs away. That's it. Let him fucking go. Sometimes cops are going to have to lose. And I feel like this is where, as people have been pointing out, training is not going to help. It's your stupid ass tough guy pride that you've been, that for some reason you can't get your ass beat by a dude who's unarmed, and not even get your ass beat. You can't have a dude escape on you. Like, I think that's part of policing now. You're going to have to just let it go. Why? Because it's not you. It's not worth taking a life over. And it's not worth shooting someone in the goddamn leg over either. This is the whole thing with, Biden shoot him in the leg. Oh my God, which is another thing that I'm bitching about really quickly. Can I just say, if you guys have watched any of the YouTube pre-roll ads for Joe Biden, they are awful. Like, they're like, they're pre-recorded. Arguably, there are multiple takes being done on these ads, right? But it's like, I'm Joe Biden with some presentations and gotta change America. Like, that is the ad. The ad is just straight up him fumbling over lines that were pre-written out for him right in front of him that arguably he took 2 or 3 takes, and that's the pre-roll. I'm running for president, and you come out. We need you. Like, I don't know. That was even better than what it was. So I'm also bitching about the fact that the Biden campaign can't get him to say a fucking full sentence without stumbling.
What I'm dreading is getting to the Biden-Trump debates. Like, what a fucking like butchery of the English language. Do you know what I mean? Like,
oh God, yeah.
Just the dueling, babbling sentence fragments, and unclear concepts and provocations.
No, it's very much like your Thanksgiving between your dad and your partners, or your grandfather and your partner's grandfather, who like hate each other, and they keep on asking for like the side that is also right next to them. Like, where's the stuffing? Like that. It's just that.
Is there something you need to tell me about your relationship?
No. I've told you about the sponge. It's not wrung out. Oh, you guys, let us know what you're bitching about in the comments. Do it. Talk to us. And that was what we are bitching about. But wait, there's more. Because now I want to pivot into our next segment, our main topic for the week. We're talking about the economy, particularly from the vantage point of everyday people, working class people, most people who don't have yachts and didn't get $1 million write-offs included in some of these stimulus budgets. I find myself incredibly confused by the number of stimulus budgets that have been passed, that haven't been passed, proposals, amendments, bills of rights that have been put into place. And it's unclear. We know that last week we talked about housing and the fact that a lot of eviction moratoriums are expiring. There's going to be a wave of evictions. We also know that now unemployment benefits will be running out. At least the extra unemployment benefits will be running out. States are running out of money. And there seems to be little appetite, as they say, when they talk about Republicans, appetite for more money, more stimulus. There's no appetite because all of their friends have eaten, so they're full. And
they're just trying to slim down. They've eaten enough. They're trying to do portion control.
Exactly. Yeah, they're like, why can't you pick through my bulimic vomit? Eat that. But no, I want to talk to somebody who knows a little bit about this, who's, again, been in the Beltway. She is a radical lobbyist, if there is such a thing. She's the policy director for United for Respect that works with low-wage retail workers, and particularly working on things like workplace democracy, which takes the form of having a worker on the corporate board of, let's say, Walmart, which is something that United for Respect has been advocating for. Please welcome, everybody, Vasudha Desikan.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Hi.
Welcome.
Vasudha, what's up?
Nice to join you. That was a disgusting metaphor, and I just want to say I'm not a lobbyist. I live in California. I live outside of the Beltway, but I do advocate for our people. So
I know, but one time you texted me, you were like, guys, I think I'm a lobbyist.
You cannot reference my late night Grey Goose text.
Oh, dude, that's what I like. I had it all prepped. No? Okay.
No.
All right. We'll not do. Okay. Vasudha nix the lobbyist from her title. Absolutely. But she is advocating on working people's behalf. Vasudha, so 42 million Americans are out of work. And also this week, the NASDAQ hit an all-time high. Wow. I wanted
Does
to
the
ask,
ruling class profit from pain?
yeah, does
Yes.
the ruling class profit from our pain? Go.
Yes. Yes.
Cool.
Yes,
Next
absolutely.
question.
And the government subsidizes it. Keep going. Let's go.
No, I think,
Lightning round.
yeah, lightning round. Yes or no? Do they have passion fruit LaCroix in Chaz? Yes or no?
You know, as a former occupier, I'm gonna say someone is probably making kombucha
Yes.
on the spot.
I hope.
There's
and
like a
passing that
vat
around.
of gray water kombucha.
Yo, I'm so there. I will drink that mop water.
There's probably also bottles of urine around somewhere to toss around because I think that was a mainstay of every occupier as well. So hope they don't get mixed up.
A little spritz here and there. No, but V, I want to talk to you though, because I am trying to, again, make sense of the stimulus budgets. I feel like a lot of times when these $1 trillion budgets get passed through Congress, it kind of feels like it's like throwing a giant piece of sourdough, like a giant sourdough baguette into a pond.
Right.
And just seeing all the ducks come out. And like we, the people, are like, we're like the tadpoles. We're just like, hello? No? $1,200? So and it kind of all disappears and then it sinks and then it's kind of gross. Anyway, you get the metaphor. The point is like, what phase of this stimulus budget are we in right now? I know there's like 3 or 4 different stages. And when do we reach the stage where we can dismantle capitalism, or as I like to call it, climax after all this stimulation?
God, I hope we are always in the phase of dismantling capitalism. So just to backtrack, we are in phase 4 right now. So there are 3 stimulus bills that have been passed and 4th that is in the works. So the first stimulus bill was about $8 billion, and that was geared towards coronavirus vaccine and research and development, all that kind of stuff. Stimulus 2 was a little over $100 billion. And that was the Families First Coronavirus Act that was purely geared towards making sure that emergency paid sick and family leave were only affordable to workers at companies with less than 500 employees. So if you worked at Walmart, you worked at Amazon, you worked at a big nursing home, you were exempt from all those kinds of benefits. So really progressive piece of legislation. Stimulus 3 was is the CARES Act, and that's the $2 trillion package that a lot of times people talked about as a $6 trillion package, and that's because there is leverage built in to some parts of that stimulus bill, so that if you are a business and you're getting a loan, you can add private capital to it and take your 500,000 and make it like 2 million, 3 million.
So that's that loophole that I've seen a couple of articles about.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's the bill that has the stimulus check, the $1,200 check that anyone making $75,000 or less should be getting, expanded unemployment insurance, including this pandemic unemployment program, and then the $700 billion Paycheck Protection Program, PPP.
Okay.
And then now we're in phase 4. And in mid-May, that was the HEROES Act that Nancy Pelosi and the House passed. That's the $3 trillion bill that is sitting with the Senate right now. It's supposed to have money to states. It's supposed to have hazard pay. It's supposed to have emergency paid leave for all workers. It's just like this. It's supposed to be a progressive, comprehensive package that's going out to everyone. It's getting a ton of pushback, obviously, from both the Senate, and then the Trump administration wants to come out with its own $3 trillion package.
A separate package.
A separate package that is supposed to be focused on industrial relief, manufacturing in the US, all these kinds of things, like economic platform, like an economic policy platform that you can imagine a shitty Republican president is going to want to leverage for his reelection campaign that is actively tanking.
Right, absolutely. All right, so let me ask you, if we were to do nothing right now, like if just at this point, 3 months into this pandemic, 42 million people out of work, what grade do you give this economic relief? Like, what grade do you give Congress when it comes to actually helping people out? How are we doing?
I mean, I'm such a fucking asshole, so I would give them an F regardless, because it's not actually like it's very immediate relief, right? It's insane that we have this Democratic House majority, and it's completely wasted. It's completely wasted. I mean, it's like so concessionary. So if you're starting from a place of coming up with legislation that's like from a place of losing, it's pathetic. So the fact that like
Hang on, did you miss the part where Nancy Pelosi wore a kente cloth? Didn't that cover it?
I'm pretty sure every Ghanaian person I know was sitting there just like throwing some shit at the TV or the computer as they were watching it. Yes, I mean, I feel like she has affirmed her loyalty to the people after that. She also had her fist up, guys. Don't forget that.
And one knee and a fist. That's
And a fist.
That's
And
hard
the kente
to do
cloth. Yeah.
in Manolos. Like I've been talking about Nancy Pelosi's Manolo Blahniks. You got to get handed to her. But okay, yeah. So it's an F, I mean, of course, the Democrats would say, but none of this is going to pass a Republican-controlled Senate. So why push harder?
I mean, it is tough, right? Like it's a tough place to be in because there's some really immediate relief that people need. People need cash in their pockets. People need access to paid leave and benefits that their corporate employer is not giving them. People need a lot of really urgent things, and you shouldn't also you can have that. You can fight for that and make sure that you're not actually caving in to a lot of the Republican demands. So we heard that in the second stimulus bill, the Families First Coronavirus Act, they had emergency paid leave for all workers. You look at the polling numbers on paid leave, everyone, regardless of your party affiliation, is like, yes, give essential workers the right to have paid sick leave and family leave in the face of this pandemic. It's fucking basic, right? It's so popular. And they cut it out because of the Chamber of Commerce, because the chamber came in at the last minute and were really pissed, and she wanted to cut a deal. The Democratic leadership wanted to cut a deal that made them look good. So they eliminated it, and they made sure that it was only available to this niche group of workers. So you go to a super center, you work at a Walmart super center, you work at an Amazon warehouse. There's no social distancing involved. I don't know if you all have seen the pictures of Walmart supercenters. It's like every fucking day. It's like Black Friday. That's what it looks like in there. So it's why are you coming from such a concessionary place and allowing these things to happen? Look, no one thinks Congress is going to be revolutionary. But the thing is, don't just fucking give everything away. Don't be actively counter-revolutionary. And that's what it feels like sometimes with these stimulus bills. They're just giving shit away.
I've described that negotiating stance as I call it premature capitulation.
Yeah.
Yep.
Why? So you
Pre-cap.
you asked the pre-cap. Well, you asked the question, Vasudha, like why come from a concessionary place out of the gate? So could I bother you to answer your own question? Why do you think the Democrats do come from a concessionary place out of the gate? Like, I don't mind politicians being calculating. I would prefer it if they were good at calculating. And it seems like often Democrats are bad at calculating.
They're super bad. I mean, it's like the most boomerific institution in the US, you know? It's like old, out of touch with the times.
Old people die.
COVID's like, I'm trying.
It is yeah, and like look, I mean, this is like an institution that was put into place in the 1700s, and none of that has actually changed, right? It's not fundamental. It's not that different. Like the biggest change is like, oh, we're going to have 435 representatives in the House, which is different from 1911 when we had 433. Like it's like it operates at that level of incremental change. So this is like a fundamentally flawed institution that at the very, you can't expect big things from them. The thing that you can force them to do, and that you can't, all of us who are especially activists and organizers, that you can create jeopardy for them and you can create bright lines for them. If you do not respond to this thing, you will no longer have this position of power. And that's, I think, the different part about the outsider strategy with a lot of these folks, because they're just not going to change. They're going to always come from a concessionary place. It's going to be always about how are we coming up with partisanship and putting that over anything else, having like democratic unity, all of these kinds of insidery things that they care more about, and their deep institutional relationships with other big players in those insidery things like labor unions. And I say this as someone who comes from the labor movement and grew up in there. That's what they're going to care about, is preserving that status quo. So unless we actually agitate to change it, it's just not going to change. And even then, not to be like skeptical, but no amount of unless you have like anarchists coming in and like declaring that Congress is now like the Ministry of Mutual Aid.
Get some Chaz up in there.
Get some Chaz. Congress Autonomous Zone. So, I mean, Vasudha, I don't know if you heard, but according to the musical Hamilton, it's all fine. So, one of our viewers, Edgar, asked you if you could just like unpack the details of what's in the HEROES Act.
Sure. So the HEROES Act has, and I will be very honest, these are like 1800 to 2000 pages of legislation. Yeah. So I will do my best to remember the parts. And
we've got translation, Vasudha.
Yeah.
We'll be here.
About 1.5 Game of Thrones books.
Yeah, I would say right about. And that last one, still waiting on it. George R. R. Martin.
The same ending. It'll
is one motherfucker ending. Who better not die until that last book comes out.
My God, if you thought people set stuff on fire over police violence, if George R. R. Martin dies of COVID before he finishes the last book, the whole country's going up in flames.
Do not even put that into the universe. Do not even put that into the universe. That last episode was so awful, and we deserve justice. The OG fans deserve justice. Okay, so the HEROES Act, $3 trillion. And I don't remember the amounts, y'all. But I'm happy to figure them out and share it if it's helpful. So there's a bunch of different things that were brought together, right? This was supposed to be the Democrats' sort of like signature progressive legislation, but it was missing. I'm laughing because it's missing so many things that even people in their own party, like Pramila Jayapal, were advocating for, and it didn't make it in there. So what did make it in there? Boatload of money to cities and states. There were a bunch of things from this platform.
Like to city and state governments that are facing budget
cuts.
City
and state governments that are facing budget cuts, and it's it's supposed to be money directly to them, money to small businesses, because the PPP was inadequate, but it didn't have Pramila Jayapal's bill, which is the Paycheck Guarantee Act, which was like based off of what socialist countries in Europe are doing. It was replicating models of that and bringing it here. Didn't make it in, even though Pramila Jayapal is like the head of the Congressional Progressive
And
Caucus.
She ended up not voting for it.
She was pissed. She's very, very pissed about it.
Right. And didn't she also have something in there about basically a temporary Medicare for all?
I think so. I didn't go through the healthcare parts as thoroughly, but
I did. I saw one thing about what I thought the striking thing to me about this, and I think it was in the HEROES Act, but it might have actually been in an earlier version, was that there was a doubling down on COBRA. So like COBRA.
That's what made it to the act.
Yeah.
It's the COBRA provisions that made it into the act.
The COBRA provisions, right? If you've ever had a full-time job and quit or was let go, like, COBRA will gouge you through the anal cavity for your health care. And it is...
Francesca, you just need to call G.I. Joe for that.
Yeah.
COBRA.
A real American hero.
Yeah. I was like,
this is true. No, but like, I'm serious. This is an entrenchment of one of the worst aspects of the private healthcare industry, which is COBRA, which essentially just, again, keeps afloat more private healthcare like companies. And that was seen as a relief instead of expanding Medicare temporarily. And again, once again, this is because Pelosi is too scared, because this all stems from the fact that Democrats are called on to be bipartisan when Republicans are like, no, we're here. We're going to loot the American people constantly and give money to our friends in the casino industry and the airline industry. What are y'all doing? Like, there's no reason to negotiate with these folks. So I think part of me is like, if they had waited, it would have been bad. I do think the unemployment benefits not expanding immediately would have been absolutely very bad. At the same time, what if you waited? Like, could you have held out for something, something better? Could Democrats have held out?
There would be a fight. Like, there would be a fucking fight, right? Which is like the piece that is missing. Like, make Republicans justify why Carnival Cruise Company, which pays taxes abroad, it doesn't even pay taxes in the US, why Carnival is getting a bailout with American taxpayer money, but workers are not getting universal emergency paid leave.
Right.
Even the most incremental things, it doesn't exist, right? Make them have a fight, and they won't have a fight. And there's this like moral high standing that we have to get this done. We're the reasonable ones. We have to be the adults in the room. It's like, no, make them sit at the kid table and explain why they're doing this. And that's the thing. These are like, to Nadeau's point about the math, their math fucking sucks. Yeah. And then to just add to the couple of other things. So there's hazard pay provisions that are in the HEROES Act. What it's supposed to, the mechanism for it sucks. Like, these are the things where Democrats fail. I'm like, who is writing this shit for you guys? Because it's like a threshold of 10,000. It should be much higher. It opens it up to potentially wage theft. Like, this is money that should go directly into workers' pockets. That's not there. And then finally, it has emergency paid leave. As we're nearing the end of phase 1 of coronavirus, workers finally get emergency paid leave, you guys.
Wow. And all of this, of course, is most likely, Trump has vowed to veto this.
Trump has vowed to veto it, and Mitch McConnell, who is Satan himself, has said that his fight, the hill that he wants to die on, is called corporate immunity. So he wants to make sure the poor, pitiful corporations of the United States are protected from savage working people who are going to come out and file lawsuits against them for wrongful death and this and that on behalf of any workers that have died. And they're just going to be bankrupted, and they're just going to be left with nothing. So they deserve corporate immunity, which is a legal liability shield.
Corporate immunity from anyone who gets sick on the job. Essentially what we were talking about with this, Trump rally waiver, but for all working people.
No. So it's more like, I work at Amazon.
It's not coronavirus related. I thought it was like COVID related.
No, it's not. It's immunity for corporations.
It's immunity for corporations. Blanket immunity for corporations.
My God.
Which is what the Chamber of Commerce and all of the business lobbyists have been fighting for since, like, I think the early 2000s. Is making sure no one can file a lawsuit against corporations.
So if they made you into like Gandalf overnight, and you could conjure up like the people's stimulus bill, what would it include?
Why am I Gandalf, Nato?
I'm sorry. If they made you into I don't know.
Xena, the princess warrior.
Xena, warrior princess.
Yeah, okay.
If they made you into some other cool thing that I'm not thinking of right now.
I'm going to choose
Or if
Arya
you were
Stark.
in the Congressional Progressive Caucus, because once again, we're not like, this is the thing, is like, people don't know there is a progressive caucus in Congress. They're just completely sidelined and don't have, I was reading that Ro Khanna says Ro Khanna is a representative, progressive representative. He says there's no channel into the leadership. Like, Schumer and Pelosi aren't listening, or Pelosi's not listening specifically.
If I had to, so there's like a lot of this already exists, right? So People's Bailout, which is run by Reverend Barber and his folks, and this big table that Sunrise and a bunch of other progressive groups that we all love and care about are always ready to throw down. they have a lot of these things actually written out, because the biggest thing is it has to come, what's in these things actually has to reflect the pain and hardship that our communities are facing, and that money has to be able to go towards futures for them that are not rooted in pain and hardship, but are rooted in hope, in stability, in security, in aspiration, and like something way bigger than just like what it is right now. So that's sort of my orientation
tax
for
breaks
it.
for third homes.
Tax breaks for third homes, first yacht, making sure there's a federal loan guarantee for that.
Or futures in Disney, if you're talking about bright futures,
Exactly.
Just
exactly.
Call up Streisand. Yeah, I mean, I think that's something we need to like pay more attention to, is the people's bailout and all that. But again, it feels like I don't know who Pelosi is trying to win over. Is it like the memory of John McCain? Like who's left,
I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I like went down a rabbit hole trying to understand her for a while, because I'm fucking fascinated. I mean, she's brilliant, right? She's brilliant, but she's also shitty, really, really shitty. And
I feel like I'm personally being subtweeted right now.
Why?
Because I'm also brilliant and shitty.
Okay, well,
in my own way.
Do you want us to start calling you Nato Pelosi?
No, definitely not.
Okay.
Nancy Green, I prefer. No, she's a veritable see you next Tuesday, and sometimes she's on our side of see you next Tuesday, and sometimes she's absolutely not. It goes both ways. She's like, again, she's there for her and like Joe Manchin and the memory of John McCain. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. And just like, I don't understand what her moral center is, or if there even is one, right? Like, what is your ideology? What defines you? What moves you? You see Ilhan Omar, you see AOC, you see Rashida Tlaib, and it's very crystal clear what their moral center is, what motivates them. Even some of the more sort of like less lefty ones, it's like, you get where they're coming from. They either care about their constituents, or there's like a diehard issue that is really close to them, that they're just like, this is the thing that I'm going to really, really move and I really care about. With Republicans, it's very, very clear. Like, who they are ride or die for. And with her, I don't understand what that is. I really don't. With her and Schumer, because I think Schumer gets off the hook a little too much, because he's like, he's the minority chair in the Senate. But him too, like, one day he's doing a fucking stock buybacks video with Bernie Sanders, and he's like, take away all of the free cash to corporations. And then the next day, he's just like, let's give a hazard pay of 50 cents to all workers. And it's like, I don't get this. I don't get this.
Yeah.
Who are you people?
And just to be clear, that sort of the positive, and then we'll have to wrap this segment, but something like a paycheck guarantee is similar to like places in basically most of Europe that's been putting workers on, even private workers, of course, on federal payroll. Like, we will pay you 80%. Right. We're going to pay 80 to 90% of your wage until this is over.
Yeah. And it's intended to stabilize the economy, right? Like, Germany's doing it, Denmark's doing it. That's what it's intended to stabilize. Here, we don't think about stabilizing the economy through workers' paychecks or workers' well-being. We think about stabilizing the economy by stabilizing the stock market and reducing any kind of shock to it. That's what we do over and over again. So when after Families First passed and after CARES passed, especially, all of these Republican electeds and the Trump administration were like, oh, S&P 500 looking really great, bouncing back, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, that's the metric that they hold.
Yep.
That's the metric that they hold, that America is whole, America is healthy, America is functioning well. It's not my fucking members at Walmart and Amazon who are like going out on a limb, like taking massive risks, risking their jobs to talk about how their company is treating them like shit. Like, that's not a metric that they use at all. And that's how broken this country is. And that's what that's a part of politics here.
Right. I read that Republicans don't have any more appetite for an extension of the unemployment benefits because they are so shocked that some people are making more on unemployment than that they were making when they were employed. And they're afraid that's going to disincentivize people going back to work. And on 2 counts, motherfucker, like, you're totally wrong. 1, people should be disincentivized to go back to work. That's the point of stopping a global pandemic, like, what the fuck are you talking about? Number 1. And number 2, if you're looking at how much money someone's making with sort of extra unemployment benefits, your first thought shouldn't be, why are they making more money than they were making when they were working? It should be, why wasn't their wage higher fucking then than it is now, right? Like, that's not where their brain goes. But again, we've been taught, and even I think all of us, we have that moment where we're like, let me just be real. I got a haircut this week. My hairstylist was like, yeah, I bought a synth with my stimulus money. And I was like, cool. I was like, cool. And of course, I don't give a shit what you do with your stimulus money. That is totally yours to spend. God bless her. I love my haircut. But like, even I think we're so ingrained as
me too, Francesca. It's a great haircut.
I was going to say it looks great. Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Like that.
Oh my God, I can't.
Okay, I'm done. But
can I ask a question?
No, I was just going to say, I think we have to unlearn the idea that we are not deserving of aid, that we are not deserving of unemployment benefits, and that somehow we're leeching off the government. Even I think lefties and progressives, we have that ingrained in us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Nato.
Thank you, Francesca.
Nato.
Vasudha, earlier you said that we need to create bright lines for politicians. Could you describe more about what that looks like?
Like cocaine?
No, I mean, look, like we should not be standing for half measures. We should not be standing for half measures. We should not be thinking about, oh, I guess this is the best they can do, so we have to live with it. Like, the shit sucks. It's really bad. It's really shitty. If we cave into something, these electeds will take it all, right? Like, House Democrats are more than happy to use progressive groups as a whip committee for any piece of shitty legislation that they put out. And they're always dangling some shit out there, right? Like, give us
What do you mean by that? Using them as a whip committee?
Like, to whip support, broad public support, other elected support, other organizational support, institutional support. Like, they are more than happy to be like, hey, can you reach out to your universe of other workers and be like, this bill is really great. And it's like, no, this bill fucking sucks. Why would I support them? Actually, I'm going to be getting my members together and getting them to like make a call to every single one of you talking about how much this sucks. So like, actually thinking about, what does that kind of advocacy look like for on the outside? Because we don't always need to play an insider game. These pieces of legislation are not actually helping undocumented workers. A lot of them don't qualify for these kinds of for things like the stimulus checks. Undocumented workers aren't getting them. So even if you pay Social Security and taxes, you're not going to be receiving the stimulus benefits. These bills aren't actually helping to alleviate the unreal mortality rates from COVID in Black communities. And I mean, like, these are all things that are not actually happening. And at the end of the day, they do not work for low-wage workers, and they are basically a corporate slush fund. So what does it mean for all of us that are on the outside, that are activists? We want to change policies. We want to see systemic change in deeper ways, and we want politicians to respond to that. What does it mean to agitate for these kinds of things and use all of the activist tools that we have to do that? So you can do lobbying, you can do virtual lobbying, in-district lobbying. There's so many different kinds of like agitational tactics that we can put to use right now. And we actually should do that. I mean, this is the time for it. And the biggest piece is we need political education around what these are, why these suck, why these are not good, because these are not good. This is not what trillions of dollars of money, what is that? Like, we're looking at now over $2 trillion if we add the HEROES Act to it, we're looking at over $5 trillion. And how much it actually went to us, went to our communities, and are building the long-term health of this country for working people.
Vasudha, I just want to go to some questions and comments from the audience. I'm just going to read them through. Let's see. Nato, I think your mom says, on behalf of old people, don't lump us all together. So there's that.
I would like to say I love my mom. Mom, I love you, but I'm also willing to sacrifice you if it means getting rid of all Trump voters and Pelosi and Schumer and Biden and the ruling class in general. So I'm willing to make that sacrifice for the greater good.
We'll wait to hear her response, and then I'll read that out loud.
I'm about to get a phone call.
Yeah, no. Please put her on speaker. Bob Welch on YouTube says, if they don't want to see the stock market go down to zero, they had better continue the higher level of unemployment payments to people. That's very true. Edgar V. Calderon on YouTube asked a question that Vasudha answered before.
Hi, asked what you think people should do.
Vasudha just talked about actually political education and calling our electeds. I wanted to get to Steven's question on YouTube. He asks, what's your prediction? So you're not Gandalf, but maybe I don't know, could Gandalf see the future? Let us know in the comments. But
nerds, come on.
Crystal ball, like if you have a crystal ball, what do you say happens?
Let's
crystal
say
ball with a C.
You're Galadriel. And you can see the future.
I love Galadriel.
Sure.
Is that a Harry Potter thing?
Okay.
No, it's
a Lord of the Rings thing.
Oh, tight.
No, especially since Zoomers are shitting on millennials loving Harry Potter. I'm never making a Harry Potter reference.
I saw that. Me either.
Hi Zoomers, we're relying on you. Don't
What's
hate
up,
on
Twitch?
Prediction for the next 6 months. Look, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. On the movement side, like, wow, incredible, forcing, like that's what I'm talking about as a bright line, right? Like really deep fucking change coming from a movement, and like really, really incredible, really excited to see that kind of energy coming out of BLM, movement for Black Lives, everything. And I think it's going to be changing just the nature of activism in this country for the years to come, but especially for the next 6 months. With that being said, the economy does not look like it is going to be doing well because we are on our way towards a second wave with the flu season right around the corner. So what does that mean? All of the reopenings that are happening, especially in southern states where it's very rash and not rooted in science, not rooted in people's welfare, that's going to have its own impact, which is just going to create greater compression on the economy. So a lot of the turbulence that we were seeing in March and April, I actually don't think that's gone for long. And then quite frankly, just like the state of work and how work is going to happen, how it gets impacted, all of that is just going to change, right? Then the people that lose in that are working people, especially essential workers in low-wage jobs. They are the losers in that. The winners in it are the Amazons of the world, the Walmarts of the world, these mega corporations that are taking advantage of a lot of the lack of safety net that exists for workers and just a shitload of business that they're getting out. I mean, you guys saw Jeff Bezos is like on his way to becoming a trillionaire. Amazon is having a hard time calculating what their actual profits for the year are going to be because it's going to be astronomical. So that's like that level of market consolidation is happening, which means like your little bodega or deli or whatever is going to be put out of business. So all this stuff like that market consolidation is going to be tough. And then politicians, your fucking politicians in Congress are still going to be a bunch of dickbags unless we are forcing them to not be dickbags.
Dickbags.
Swap out the bag of dicks.
Sorry. And then the last thing I'll say on that is we have a presidential election coming up in November. And unless...
I saw the pre-roll ads. Don't worry. I'm on it.
Yeah. So that adds to all of this, right? I mean, this is like an unprecedented time in this country for any of us that have been doing politics or organizing or activism for a long time. I don't think I can remember a summer before a presidential that was ever like this.
True. Yeah.
Shit is
Yeah.
crazy. Shit is wild.
Agreed. Speaking of wild, we're going to move to our next segment, which, Vasudha, will you stick with us?
Sure. Yeah.
Please do. Y'all follow Vasudha on all the social media. Ask her your questions. Be kind. And also, thank her and us for our for our brilliance, for this moment, for being here in the Bitchuation room by tipping us at TBR-Live on Venmo, TBR-LIVE on Venmo. We are donating a portion of all of your tips to the LGBTQ bail fund, getting and bailing people out of prison and detention centers all across this country, 15 different states. They deserve your money. We deserve your money. We want your money, even just like $1. Just like $1. I'll take it. We're going to move on to our final segment, which we're bringing back. We have no new segments in this episode of the Bitchuation Room, which is This Week in Karen. This Week in Karen. This was a wild week for Karens. Let's just be real. There were many a viral video to the point where the hashtag Karen's Gone Wild was trending. We had the Torrance, California Karen telling Asian Americans to go back to their country. Torrance is 30% Asian. I like to call her the Bass Outlet Karen because she was just very ready to go fishing. She's Land's End Karen. It's like how Steve Bannon is very Land's End Nazi. This is like that. It was like the female Bannon. There was that video. There was an Arizona woman who got slapped at a gas station by a woman who she was telling to go back to Mexico, and then she got slapped. And it was beautiful, and she deserved it. But I want to focus on a different Karen, because in this moment of coronavirus, there is a very particular Karen, which is the Karen who refuses to do anything that might help her fellow man or woman or community by putting on a mask. And this Karen was in Queens, New York. Vasudha, I believe your home
My
turf.
home. I'm so sorry.
Yo, gentrification
She's
is
probably
real.
from Connecticut. She's probably from Connecticut or Kansas.
You and Donald Trump, Vasudha.
Oh,
We don't
wow.
claim him. We don't claim him. We're gonna have a draft and we're gonna trade him.
Yo, is it true Trump has been voting in Florida for like forever? Doesn't he just vote by mail? Anyway, sound off in the comments.
Obviously, Trump is a misogynist. He does everything by mail. Wordplay. Sorry.
That simple syrup is
like
hitting.
mail order. I'm not getting it. I will get it after this video. Guys, watch this Karen. Here we are. Oh, watch that slow-mo. For those of you who didn't hear what was going on, she's in a Starbucks and she doesn't have a mask on, and she starts calling everyone pussies. She says, everyone's a pussy, everyone's being a pussy. And then she goes over and coughs on the woman who asked, not her, but asked, I think someone working at, I think it was not a Starbucks, it was a bagel shop, working at the bagel shop, why this woman wasn't wearing a mask. Goes over, coughs on her. Vasudha, thoughts?
I just want to say no one in that shop is from Queens, because if they were, they would have coughed right back on her. That's what would have happened. But also, oh my God, just like peak caucasity right there.
It's true. I mean, if the yoga pants didn't tell you everything you needed to know, but it's so weird because like you never know with Karens, like that kind of like entitled white woman, like what she finds disgusting and what she finds like fine. Like I bet, she like wouldn't share, like she doesn't share blunts, you know what I mean? She doesn't share like joints or something. If someone like passes her something, she's like, no, actually, do you know that 80% of germs that are in marijuana pipes are into your lung? Like, she's got some sort of fucking stat like that, she like spritzes things before she touches them, but then also calls people pussies when they're deciding to wear masks because we're in a pandemic. That's my read. Nato, is she like, what are we thinking? We're thinking fuck, marry, kill with this Karen? Where do we put her? Torrance Karen, Arizona Karen, or Queens Karen?
I certainly think the worst one is Torrance Karen.
But crazy in bed.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, she was like, why are you exercising in a park? You know what I mean? Like, if you're mad, like, of all the, like, how dare you exercise in a park? So that was a weird thing to be mad about. And then if you watch the whole like minute and a half video of Torrance Karen going off, at the very end, she like gets all matronly and maternal and is like, and why are you wearing black? It's California. You're going to get cooked here. Like, you need to, you need more breathable clothing.
That's the best. That's the best part of Torrance. Nobody wears black in the summer.
What if it's a secret Karen strategy to keep everyone inside and not fall for the reopening of America?
There needs to be some sort of decoy.
I'm just saying.
I'm thinking,
not advocating for Karens.
Like you're saying, like, how do we get them to stay inside?
Yeah, what if Karens in the wild are so aggressive and people are just like, these bitches are gonna cough all over me. Let me stay my ass at home and not fall for the reopening of America. Yeah, what if Karens are the secret Avengers?
We're all under the thumb of Big Karen. The Karen Industrial Complex.
The Karen Industrial Complex.
Yeah, no, Karens were put there by the time travelers to annoy us back inside. I get what you're saying.
Sure.
So we would prevent a second wave from coming. Once again, everyone, call your aunts and uncles. Call the Karens in your life. Call the borderline Karens in your life. Pull them back, see how they're doing. Send them a puzzle. Send them a new hat that they can, that you got from Patagonia that they can wear indoors. Just reach out to the Karens in your life or the soon to be maybe Karens. It's a fucking plague. I don't know what we're going to do about them. I do think some sort of decoy, maybe like Sex and the City reunion show, like something to keep them home. I mean, does the home shopping network not work anymore on these white ladies? I guess that's when you like physically can't move out of your bed. That's when
they're on to new things though, man. I mean, Lululemon's out. Like,
that's true.
What are you going to do? Your Pilates class is canceled.
That's
the
true.
Yoga studio's closed. What are you going to do?
Quite
hard
sad.
Out here for a Karen.
What?
Said it's hard out here for a Karen.
It's hard out here for a Karen, especially when everyone is being a big pussy. And you've got tights. So, well, Nato, any final remarks before I sign us all off?
Thank you, Mr. Nato Green on Instagram, Nato Green at Twitter. The Whiteness album is out wherever comedy can be streamed or downloaded.
This is Nato plugging all of his things. Vasudha, is there anything we need to plug? Tell us who to follow, what to do. Give us our marching orders.
I am very new to Twitter. Please be nice to me. I spend more time in legislation than I do on social media. But if you have any questions and you need a movement person to answer your questions about what's happening in Congress and all these stimulus bills, hit me up at Vasuds. I'm happy to share all the information I can and give more power to the people. And thank you both so much for having me on.
And set a police car on fire.
Yes. Although I still want to be employable somewhere. So that's been the Bitchuation room. So I don't condone that, but like,
I mean,
with
non-violently.
love. Like, set it aflame with love. I'm Francesca Fiorentini. That's been the Bitchuation room. Tip us. Thank you so much for your tips. Thank you so much. That really helps us keep going and helps pay people like our producer Becca Roofer, who's wonderful, who always makes sure that this show goes so smoothly. Thanks for being here. I will read all of your comments laters and reply to you one by one, because I am the reply gal. Whatevs. And make sure to rate this podcast on iTunes 5 stars. I was gonna say, like, tell me your favorite joke. Tell me your favorite knock joke. All right. That is a challenge for you to write this podcast a review on iTunes or on wherever. I don't know. Spotify. Do they have reviews? Does that matter anymore? Are we doing Spotify? Kids, help me. All right. That has been the Bitchuation room for this episode and this week of June 14th. And remember, don't just bitch about it. Be about it. Bye-bye, y'all.